Hey, everybody. I have already recorded this once and I failed miserably, so I'm doing it again. This whole video series I'm going to be doing, it's probably going to be daily, at least 5 days a week. And the reason I'm doing that is I need to try something different with my life. So I normally do a podcast called The Category Mistake, and usually it's okay, how I see the world, how things in the world are going, and how I deal with it, how I do things, how I see things, everything from politics to movies to um, kids I used to teach to goals for aspiration in life. Okay, everything and then some. Lately, honestly, it's been since October, early November. I have been struggling every day more and more with anxiety. Now everyone has anxiety. They're going to be like, "Oh my God, he's talking about anxiety. Oh my God, touchy." No, it's a little different than what I even used to make fun of my own adult children for, and I'm now realizing that I was a freak. I was an idiot. Okay. Um, I had students. Oh my God, my anxiety, and I'm like, suck it up, cupcake, and move on. Okay. What I realize is that yes, we do oversimplify the word anxiety. We overuse it. We don't put it in a way that it should be. We make it sound like everyone should have anxiety and there's always a way to fix anxiety and that's what we're going to do. And honestly, maybe that's the wrong way of looking at it. What I've realized since October, November is everyday problems for me stop me from doing anything in my life. Okay. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I think of is I'm bankrupt. I've got no money. My wife's going to leave me. My children are going to hate me and I'm going to be homeless tomorrow. I have thought that way for a very long time. And what I've realized is that's not normal. It's not normal. I mean, everyone thinks that once in a while. I think it every day. And some days it literally makes me just not want to look at my phone or get out of bed or talk to my wife or deal with anything because the world is going to collapse around me. Now, I've had anxiety my whole life, so as haven't most of us. But what I've realized talking through it with therapists, my wife, and other people is that logical anxiety and what I've been dealing with for the longest time are not the same thing. They're not the same thing because normal people worry about, their job or their kids, and they're like, you know what? I hope Jeremiah is having a good day today. I worry about is Jeremiah gonna die today? I worry about when I drive a car with my wife that we're gonna, get hit by a car on the side, we're gonna roll over, and we're gonna die. Years ago, I took my kids and my wife, we went on a road trip, and there was a car that was on the side of the road on fire. I freaked out, drove us through the median, over the grass, to the other side of the road, and then back around it. I freaked out so bad that got us around traffic. The kids thought it was cool. I was panicking. But what is abnormal about that is every time I drive, I think of those situations. I guess and I anticipate everyone around me driving to the point where it can drive me a little cuckoo and it makes me tired, but I keep driving. Um, and that's what this is going to be about. It's not going to be about, hey, here's a magic pill. Hey, here's some magic therapy. Hey, here's some magic mantra I do to get around my anxiety. Because I don't know how to get around my anxiety. No idea. This is more about, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm taking medication. I'm talking to people. I'm doing the right thing, but I don't know what I'm doing. And every day I want to explore maybe something I learned, something I didn't learn, something that I'm doing, and maybe people leave me messages about what they're doing. And it's really just about me trying to figure out what this is that I have okay, going on up here. Is there a way to control it or to make it to a point where I don't have interviewers at jobs worried about me and reaching out to me after I fail an interview to make sure that I'm in a good mental state, or losing a job because I start going crazy, my word crazy. My anxiety gets so high up that I start telling people off because I feel like they're letting others down. That's not a normal day-to-day activity. I've interviewed for teaching jobs lately, and a lot of them they're like, you have great credentials, you seem like you really love teaching, but during the interview you were loud, you were fast talking, you moved around a lot, not just your hands, you couldn't sit still, you couldn't look us in the eye, uh, and I realize now that was how I dealt with the anxiety of the interview because I wanted it so bad. Now I've had jobs. I taught. I taught at St. Elizabeth Seton. Loved it. I've talked about it before on my podcast. And I think to myself, well, how did I survive that? Here's how I survived. First, the interview. The interview, I was like I was for the other ones, but I think they needed somebody quick. So the principal gave me a shot and I showed up. Again, positive, right? They didn't pay me a lot, but I showed up and I wanted to teach. So I taught. But normally, as a teacher, you go into a class, you kind of do your lesson plan, you got kind of things planned out. I didn't just do it that way. I lesson planned, but I also would show up early, review the material to a point of almost too much. I wanted to make sure no one could say, well, you're wrong. I didn't want the students or the principal or another teacher call me out because I didn't know the right answer. And it was exhausting. I taught for almost 3 years there during COVID, even. And I left and I told the kids and even the principal, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to go to school, go back to school, get my degree higher up, get a master's. And I did. I started doing that. But then I started getting nervous, thinking, I don't belong in these classes. I'm not smart enough. I don't know what I'm doing. Uh, Imposter syndrome. I felt like I didn't belong. Um, I really quit or left teaching, not for my degree. I left because I was worried someone was going to figure out I didn't know what I was doing. And they were going to make me leave, and it was going to be horrible. And I didn't want to leave that way. Stupid, I know. Then I taught at another school, and my anxiety kicked up so much, I started acting out in class and not being the teacher I should be. And the school's like, hey, yeah, you kind of were off the cusp a little bit and you need to be more controlled. And then I went and did it more. And then things happened. And instead of dealing with it, I just kind of kept going. No more teaching. And then this last job, I worked with veterans and I took it personal when the VA or a program or system failed these guys. Now, some people are like, well, that's great. You I took it so personal that I couldn't leave it at work. I also talked about it all the time. But if somebody above me, like in pay rate, authority, whatever, said something that I thought was wrong, I couldn't just say, hey, let's talk about that. No, I said, you're an idiot. You're wrong. Why? You need to do better. I'm telling people who have degrees, I am telling people who have been doing this for 20 years that they're wrong and they need to do it my way because my way is the right way. Boy, is that stupid. Okay. And while I struggle with anxiety, I realize I have beat up people verbally in my head and with my actions when they've talked about their anxiety. I have. I mean, I had students, like, and I think I've said this already, but I've had students who are like, oh, my anxiety's flaring up. And I'm like, oh, you're weak. I'm a moron. Okay. When the students who watch this or listen to this, um, you know who you are. I promise you they know who they are. Mr. M was wrong. Okay. Now, did some of you play up the anxiety to get out of things? Most likely. You're teenagers. I get that. Um, but should I have been the way I was with you? I probably could have been better. Could have been nicer. Could have been more respectful of what you were going through. So I apologize. 100%. I'm sorry. On that note, I apologize to my kids. A lot of them go through a lot of mental health, and I've always just thought, they need to work through it, get over it, and that's how I've done it. And I realize I haven't really been getting over it. I've just been kind of holding it down. And I hit my head really hard in October. Was out of commission for like 6 weeks. Since then, can't be holding it down anymore. For some reason, I'm not able to hold back my anxiety, my depression, my overall frustration. I feel like I can't get my brain and my body and everything else to work together. It just kind of explodes. And when it explodes, it's usually when I feel like I'm being stressed out. Now, most people get stressed out with a job or with traffic or bills. I get stressed out waking up in the morning. I get stressed out going to bed at night. I get stressed out eating lunch. I get stressed out doing this. Um, so that's what this video series slash podcast series is going to be about. How do I deal with it? How do you deal with it? Is there something I'm doing wrong that I could be doing better that could work for me? I don't know. Um, if you read all the statistics, America's number one mental health illness is anxiety. Why? What is it about our world that we live in that makes us anxious? We also, as a fellow military person, we have high rates of anxiety, PTSD. That's what they call it for us. That makes us feel more special, I guess, if they give us an acronym for that. I don't want sympathy. I don't want people going, oh, look at this poor dad and soldier. The world has failed him. No, that's not what this is about. This is about how do I get better the right way? How do I do this without either one, becoming a zombie because I'm taking so much medication or self medicating? I don't want to do that either. Or being locked away for a while. How do I get better and do it in a way where I can still be there for my wife, my kids, my grandkids, and others who are important to me without losing my mind or driving them so crazy that they don't want to be around me? So that's the plan. I'd love any comments, any ideas, any thoughts. That would be amazing. Till next time, guys, let me know what you think. I will probably be seeing some of you tomorrow and throughout this time. If you have any comments, questions, ideas, thoughts, leave them below. Thanks, guys.